Thank you so much for talking to me. Can I request you to briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Vidya Athreya, and I have been a wildlife biologist for the longest time. Initially, I was just a wildlife researcher, and then I started studying leopards that live among people. And that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. And currently, I'm the director of WCS India. I guess that's it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think you've been studying leopards long enough to actually tell us what it's like to be a leopard.
Yeah, sure, I can try, but you have to also realize that these are really secretive animals. So the only
Right.
way we can study them is using camera traps or looking at their scat or putting GPS collars. But that also doesn't really, it's not an observational study. So you only
Yes.
see very little of these animals, or you
Yes.
get information, very little information about these animals, only through some particular tools that you can use.
Of course. But what is it like? Like, what's a day in a leopard's life like?
Yeah, so the leopards that I had the pleasure of meeting lived in cropland landscape, okay,
Right.
among people. So their lives, I would believe, are very different from the ones that live in the forest, which everybody knows about and thinks about. So much so that they always think that the cropland leopards are aberrant, which I don't think so, because it's
Mhm.
like human societies, which is natural and which is aberrant. Is a tribal human, the natural human, and the Bombay human, an aberrant human. Similarly, just as humans have different ways of living, wild animals also have different ways of living, depending on the where they are. Yeah. So I would be talking mainly about leopards that live in the cropland in Maharashtra. Rather than the day in the life of the leopard, I would say it's a night in the life of the leopard, because in human-dominated landscapes, they just sit all day. They don't move at all. But early in the evening, they start moving, and they go about trying to find their food, I guess socializing, meeting others. And all through the night, they are active, walking around. Why? I don't know. I don't think it's only food that drives them. I'm sure there's also society that drives them. Like we can't put if somebody was studying humans, we can't attribute all our actions to food. There's a lot more
Right.
going on in our lives, and I'm sure that's the case. And that's been seen in camera traps where on the same night, we see 3, 4 individuals in the same area in very close timing. So they know each other, yeah. And then early in the morning, again, they are active and then they just sit all day. So that is what the life of a cropland leopard is in the night. So they're chasing dogs and they try and get some goats, and that's, yeah.
So this socializing is also outside of the breeding season.
Of course, like they are also creatures like us, and we don't socialize only during breeding. There is human society, and we are presuming that these animals don't have societies, which I don't think is true. I think it's because we see so little of them. Like we see dogs, domestic dogs. Do they have
Right.
societies? Yes, they do. Because we
Right.
see them, we can assess it. We see elephants because they're so large, you can observe them, and we know they have societies. But animals that we
Right.
cannot see doesn't mean they don't have societies. It's just that we cannot see, right?
Yes. And so also we generally think of cats as being solitary, right?
Yeah, but I have a take on that, and I think it's because large cats are. It's a pretty. It's a pretty like interesting take. So I apologize, but
Yeah, yeah, a
I
bold
think
claim, I
large
guess.
cats were traditionally studied by alpha male biologists.
Right.
And I think socialization is not particularly a characteristic of alpha males, right? So
Right.
also tools you had then, like more seriously,
Yes.
radio callers. It's in my society, if you collar me and you collar my neighbor 3 doors down the line, and you don't
Right.
call anybody else in my house, you're going to think I'm
Right.
solitary, because it was
Right.
so hard to track them, right? You had to go
Yes.
keep places on hilltops, get one location. How do you know that they are social? But the GPS collars show that they are social. They meet up, they feed together. And now even photographs in parks where people can drive up and identify the animals. For instance, in Sri Lanka, two mothers were walking with two each of their cubs. So it was two
Right.
sisters walking with two of their cubs. So 6 leopards walking at the same time. And it is known to be a society based around females
Okay.
societies. And in Africa, for instance, they photographed over multiple years the father, the subadult son, the mum, and the young kids. So it's only when you can start seeing them do you understand more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, even like sightings of many leopards together have been thought of as aberrations, right? So they're probably not.
So that's because how many sightings do we have of leopards
Correct.
altogether? Yeah. And if you go
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Bera, that is in Javai, Rajasthan, a lot of them are together. You can see that.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So when they're moving at night, are they doing this on routes that they know from memory?
Sarkaja, this is not very good. Is it
The
my
audio?
network? I missed some of what you said. Is it my network or your network is a
So
question?
I'll just repeat it. I'm not sure. It could be mine.
No, I got it. Your question was that are they walking these routes for memory or
Yes.
yeah. So cats are supposed to have a very good map of their area. They know
Right.
their areas really well. I guess just like
Yes.
humans.
Yeah.
So I don't see any difference between humans walking around doing their own stuff versus cats walking around doing their own stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And the primary sense they're using, is it eyesight? Is it smell?
I don't think it's so simple either. I think what we've learned is, oh, it's like basically smell for dogs and stuff, but I think animals are way more complex
Right.
than that. So it I have spoken to some biologists who think that these animals perhaps even communicate at very low frequencies, which travel long distances that we cannot hear. So I don't know
Oh,
what it is, but I think these are very complex animals that we don't know much about. Like elephants are supposed to use low frequency
yes. Yes.
communication. And because these animals use such large distances, I would be surprised if they were just using some very small at the space sense.
Yes. Yeah. But when they're out on a hunt, when they're actively foraging, how is that happening?
Yeah, so with leopards, they're different than the cheetahs, for instance, because they sit and they watch. Like they're watching you for hours. I don't know if you've seen a domestic cat sitting outside a rat hole.
Yeah.
That animal is just sitting there. You get bored, but that animal is there. So I think leopards
Yes.
do just sit and watch, and they watch the same animal for a really long. Like they'll watch it tonight, then they may come back after 3 days and watch it again, and they really know that animal well. They will know. Like for instance, I had this elderly lady who would take her goats for foraging, and she would go into. She'd be alone and the leopards would come and take away her goat. So she's pulling the goat from one side and the leopard's pulling. And they knew that this woman is helpless. She's alone.
Wow.
And we can, so they observe. And then attack is in like less than a couple of seconds. But the planning takes
Wow.
a
So they're
long time. Yeah.
wow. So they could be tracking like the same animal over multiple days before they execute an attack.
100%. Yeah. And that's what even the farmers where I work, they would say that if the leopard has got that dog once, it's going to come back and get it another time. Yeah. If
Um,
they
uh,
tried to attack and it couldn't get it, yeah.
yes. Which I was going through some of the work that you've done. Dogs and cats make up a disproportionately large proportion of their diet,
Dogs especially,
even
dogs.
in landscapes that have goats and other domestic animals.
Right. Yeah, that's because the goats and other domestic animals are usually protected in cattle sheds, whereas dogs are just outside. Yeah.
That's what I thought. And also at night, dogs are like less protected. or nobody's watching over them.
Correct, like the cattle.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw a
yeah.
really interesting video recently of a guy lying on his charpoy and watching his phone. And there's a dog sleeping under his charpoy. And the leopard comes and takes the dog and goes. The guy has no clue. Only
Yeah.
end he figures that something has happened.
Yes, yes. And a lot of these sheepdogs in Himachal, they have these nail collars to
Right.
protect them. Hmm. Yeah. So in those cases, I guess it's a really complex way of being an ambush predator. They are not relying on just any one thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think they also know where like this woman, they know she's helpless. She's not going to do anything. So it's a very adaptable, intelligent animal at the end of the day.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, very intelligent.
Yeah.
Um, in the breeding season, they have mating calls and they have a lot of other things happening.
So I don't know much about that. I know that they have these mating calls, but I haven't really observed the animals to be able to say anything more than that. Yeah.
Okay. But I'm sure like territory marking and scent marking also plays an important role there.
I'm sure it does. And also, 100%. And you will see it in the croplands. You will see their scrape marks with urine on the side or scrape marks with feces on the side. So 100%. Yeah.
Right. I'm wondering how could one observe? Is there any way you can think of like what technology or what would help us watch them better, get to know them better?
I think if they're silent drones, but then the cropland landscape is sugarcane. So in the day, you're
Hmm.
not going to see anything because they're just sitting there. And in the night, I guess if you have infrared drones, which are very silent, I guess would be a
You
good
might.
thing. Yeah, yeah.
Right. Okay, so I think we can move on to the next part of the interview, which is the spaces that they share with humans, which is also fascinating because there's like a whole gradient of densities that they occur in the different landscapes. Is there a characteristic landscape that they share with humans?
Nope, they share with humans all the way from Himachal to the rocky areas in Javai in Rajasthan to periphery of Mumbai to the croplands. They are just all over the place. Yeah. So I don't think there's
Uh,
a typical space. I think wherever the humans don't kill them off and where, because India has prey everywhere, there's domestic animals everywhere, dogs everywhere. So I think where people allow them to live is probably a space where is more likely you'll get them.
But do they always need a forest nearby? Do they always need a refuge to go to during the day?
Yeah, so the refuge can be anything. It can be rocky outcrops, or it could be even like sugarcane fields, or it could be lantana shrubbery in an arid landscape. It's just and they're just so amazingly camouflaged that they just need one little bush.
Right.
And yeah, and they can sit there if they merge into the background. Yeah, unlike tigers and all, which are so large that it'll be really hard for them to do that. Yeah.
Okay. But some kind of fallow land you think is important, like
No, fallow
unused.
land also means completely barren. Fallow fields, for instance. So they do need some little bit of shrub that they can hide under or within or behind. Yeah. Or rocks again, where they can go inside the crevices of the rocks. Yeah.
And interestingly, some of the highest densities are in the Sanjay Gandhi National Park next to Bombay, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's probably because of a huge presence of dogs at the periphery, which a lot of these animals do go to feed on. And also, the people in Bombay, I think over the last 15 years or so, are much more accepting of their leopards, which is a great thing because if people are not, even Jaipur, it has that Talana. That's the So Rajasthan is the only state where you can actually have see leopards in a leopard safari. One is in Jhalana in Jaipur, in a little forest, and the other is in Javai or Bera in Rajasthan, where they allow themselves to be shown. Yeah.
So it's about the acceptance by the people. How do you think that's happened in Bombay? How have people come to be accepting?
Accepting doesn't mean wanting to hug them and all, but accepting means it's the opposite of not wanting them.
Right,
So if they do not want them, then they force. One is they can, in it doesn't happen in India as much because there's so many people, but in Africa and other places where the density of people is low, there's a lot of poisoning of carcasses. And that's
right,
the single largest reason for mortality of these large cats. They go and eat a poisoned carcass. But in India, it's very hard to do like blatantly open illegal activities because there's so many people, no? But if you don't want them, then you capture them and leave them here and there. And it's like a messy situation for everybody. Like there are more attacks, more conflict. But ever since 2011, when a forest officer came at Sanjay Gandhi National Park, he started this Living with Leopards program, which basically was telling the people that no, we don't have a choice, that we have to share space with them. And that's the most peaceful outcome. Because the moment you start removing them and putting them here
yes,
and there, it's not going to help here because how many ever you remove, there are others. If you put them somewhere else, you're going to create a problem there because these animals' home is here. They don't know that place.
yes,
So working with the media, working with citizens, and I think Mumbai over the years for me, it's not just leopards, but you have the marine life of Mumbai. Then you have the flamingos in Bombay. You have Shaheen falcons in Bombay. Like Bombay,
right.
I guess just the way it accepts other human beings, it also accepts other life forms as well and is proud of it, which is quite amazing.
Are you based out of Bombay,
No,
incidentally?
I grew up in Bombay, and
Okay,
but I'm not based out of Bombay. But I've been just watching, like leopards were pests before that, and how that
right,
narrate the media was also really open to engage. And then how citizens have, like in a city like Bombay, which with one of the dirtiest beaches I've seen, people are celebrating the marine life they have, which is just so incredible for me. Yeah. And the
right.
flamingos, you go to Thane and people, it's drawn all over. They're like proud of their flamingos, which is just so nice. Yeah.
So just to reiterate this, in the case of the leopards, it was a really helpful forest officer and a change in the narrative, which was helped by the media, which kind of brought the whole change about. Very interesting. And do you think that's a replicable model?
100%. But it needs like a very good leadership and bandwidth. Like many times, it can definitely be done in the cities across India because
Right,
rural areas is harder. The media is not as focused. They're usually stringers over there. But city media is very focused and they're looking for news all the time. And while it is often news, but it shouldn't be conflict news. It should be positive news as well. So it definitely can be replicated in other urban spaces in India, I think.
and your work has shown that translocation does not work. In fact,
Right.
it can escalate conflict.
Yeah,
Can you just tell me briefly about that? Elaborate a little bit on that.
sure. So leopards, like other cats, again, are very territorial. They have their space. Okay. They know it really well, where they get water, where they get food, who to avoid, etc., etc. Their sisters, mothers are living nearby, and it's a social system. Now you take such an animal and suddenly pull it out and put it in some new space. One is the very act of capture, being near humans, the travel is going to stress. I don't know if you've seen how highly strung cats are. As a species, generally extremely highly strung. Yeah. So then this whole stressful situation and then hard released into a new area with resident leopards where they don't know where they get their food and full of humans. You have no idea what you're doing.
Yes.
So I would say a known devil is better than an unknown devil. If you have a resident leopard who's not doing anything, just learn to live with that animal. But
Right.
you then that's another problem. You're creating a problem at the site of release. At the site of capture, the moment you take one out, another one comes and occupies. Now that's a new animal, doesn't know the area too well. So the chances of problems increase. And that's actually been shown in studies on mountain lions that where you are constantly removing the mountain lions, there's much more attacks on livestock there because they don't know the area. Yeah.
And also that they become familiar with humans in the process of the relocation, right?
Correct. I don't know if it's familiar, but it's a very negative experience for them. And I don't know how that changes the way they see people after they're released then. Yeah.
And you said it's better to learn to live with the leopards.
If so, most of the time, 99.9%, they're just living without doing any
Yes.
harm to humans. Because at the end of the day, humans are their predators. We are the ultimate, and they're really scared of us. Yeah. So, if they're living just eating dogs, goats, and other things, it's not a problem animal. Just let it be. Learn to
Yes.
protect your goats, your dogs. Learn and don't go out after your little kid shouldn't go out alone after sundown and stuff like that. There are ways of living around these animals, but removal is a problem that really magnifies the problem immensely at multiple
Yes.
places. Yeah.
Yeah. So what other tips would you have for learning to live with leopards? Like what else can people do to adapt to it, to
So
them?
the most important is if there is potential leopard food around you in terms of garbage, then you make sure that is not there.
Right.
Okay. And two is that if you're rearing domestic animals, make sure they are safe in a chain link fence after night. Then I had friends who had Rom and Janaki, right? So when they were
Yeah,
living
yeah.
in Chennai, they had their dogs taken by leopards at the outskirts of Chennai. And what they did was perfect. They had a shrubbery right up till their house. So that what does that make? The leopard will come sit right nearby and see the dogs for a long time, know the
Yeah.
schedule and take one. So for 50 meters, they cleared the undergrowth. So now the leopard is not going to come running from 50 meters if a human is next to the dog. Clear the shrubbery so that it doesn't allow the animal to come really close. And then for people going out alone, of course, kids should not go out after dark, but that even in cities we don't do. Kids are not playing after dark, so it's not too much to ask for. And adults, if you have to go out in a leopard landscape, I recommend talking to yourself if you're going alone. That is, if you're going with multiple people, it's not a problem. Or put on the music on the phone or something so the leopard knows there's a human and will avoid them.
And also, I remember reading in some of your work that the leopards also exercise agency and will respond to measures that you take to living with them.
Yes,
How?
they will also come and check. If you had a dog that you were tying outside and now you put it in a chain link fence, that animal's going to come every few weeks and check whether it's accessible or not.
Okay.
And if you do it for a long period of time, then it's going to really decrease its visitations. Yeah.
So
If there's
it's like an
garbage, like meat you're throwing, like a lot of these villages, towns, the butchers just throw the meat near the
right.
market. That's horrible because it attracts the dogs and then it attracts. So the leopard will keep coming there knowing it'll get dogs. But if you clean it up, let's say, it's going to come once, twice, 10 times, and then it knows it's not going to get food and it'll not come there then. Yeah.
So like an intelligent, adaptable partner in the coexistence.
Yeah, I don't think coexistence is something that we are wanting or whatever. It's what we have right now. We have wild animals and people sharing space all over India. Leopards are not the only ones. How do we ensure that we live so that we are safe? That's the point. Yeah.
How long-lived are leopards? What's the average lifespan?
So I have heard like 12, 13 or so, but in captivity, I know they live up to 25.
Okay. So
Yeah.
they're pretty long-lived.
12, 13 years, yeah.
Okay. And this is from talking to people? Where's this information from?
This is from scientific literature, actually.
Okay, okay. But do you have individual leopards that you've been tracking over the years?
Not so the battery lasts like most of our studies, we have used the collar only max like 1 year, 1.5 year, not more than that, because the battery doesn't last.
But from camera trap images?
So camera trap images also, we haven't done like long-term 10, 15 year studies in a cropland landscape. No.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think in Sanjay Gandhi National Park, they've got maximum like 7, 8 years, but then you don't know if the animal has moved away or
Correct.
what.
Yeah. No, I was wondering if longevity also depends on where the animal is living.
100%, 100% it will. Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
And it's not just that, I guess, I guess a more difficult landscape where there's a lot of interventions. It's not like living in a protected area where, you are, I guess it's like human societies, those who are very well to do and living in where there's more care and more money versus people living in
Yes.
slums, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I like how you keep comparing them to human societies and bringing it back to how they're just like us.
I don't see any difference. If you ask me, the story about leopards is of two highly adaptable species sharing the same space, humans and leopards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they also evolve? I mean, did they also come out of Africa? Is that the origin story of the
I
leopard
think
as well?
so. Yeah, and they evolved way before humans did. So they have been on the planet much longer than we as humans have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. So it's pretty sad for me. I forget the dates. You can check it out
Mm-hmm.
online. But to me, losing these animals is actually losing a part of the Earth's history, which is really sad at a much
Yeah,
larger level. Yeah.
yes. And also losing a bit of human history, if we've adapted to live with them.
100%. Yeah. And I haven't talked to you about the fact that there's so many human societies in India which revere leopards and
Mm-hmm.
revere large cats. So a lot of indigenous communities across the world had this relationship with large cats, let it be jaguars or pumas or tigers or leopards or lions. And the indigenous societies had it. And then the colonial gaze was different. It was about extermination, which even happened in India. But now it's gone back after colonial times in India. It's gone back, and there's still people even to this day which revere and perform rituals for species like leopards.
Like the Wali in
The
Maharashtra.
Diwali in Mumbai and multiple. It's like we mapped 150 shrines in Dahanu alone,
Oh,
just still being revered today.
and this is just for the leopard or all big
It's
cats?
large. So that's the thing. Rural societies don't look at the way we are like, oh, Panthera tigris and Panthera pardis. For them, it's all like one large cat.
Right.
So it's Vag. In Marathi, they call it Vag, which is just tiger, but it's not tiger, it's large cat because they have Pateri Vag and Tipkyatsa Vag, which is Pateri is
Right.
line large cat and spotted large cat. So it's all large cats, but they don't differentiate like we do. Yeah.
And yeah, please go on with. So they revere them as gods.
So that's interesting because, yeah, they revere them as gods, but it's a mixture of emotions. It is awe, fascination, fear, but they pray to them also so that no natural disasters fall on them, no
Oh,
calamities fall on them. In some other parts, if they have pain in the body, leg pain, hand pain, then they make wooden replicas and keep it at the temple so that the pain gets better. So it is this mystical, magical, divine figure, which if you have done something wrong, then it'll come and attack your livestock. So that's just how they have negotiated sharing space, communities that have shared space with these animals.
right. And I'm out of an awe for the animal.
100%. There's the primary two feelings you get when you see that any of these animals is awe and fear. And it's a
Right.
mixture of both. And
Right.
I'm sure even rural communities feel the same. And they actually see these animals on foot, face to face, not like us on vehicles.
Yes.
They actually
Yes.
see the animal in a much more real way than we do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I remember talking to shepherds in Himachal. and their stories of protecting their livestock from leopards and chasing them away, having to live with that. Yeah. So you've also worked a lot in the rural landscape of Maharashtra, which is agricultural mostly,
Yeah.
with a lot of sugarcane fields.
Yeah.
And those have, compared to a place like Sanjay Gandhi National Park, the densities of leopards are much lower, like almost
Right.
4 to 5 times lower. So do you think the Sanjay Gandhi National Park leopards they're using as in, is it a floating population? Is it a resident population? How do you think that high density is
No,
sustained?
no. I think all populations are resident populations with some amount of floaters, the younger animals. And younger animals for sure are the ones moving out. Just because
Okay,
their society demands that, like ours, like our
right.
kids now move out. And I don't even know if it's static. Like earlier, the kids used to, the son used to stay with the, it's similar even in their societies. The sons move out and the daughters stay close to the mom.
They close out and the territories are next to the
Yeah,
mothers.
they usually living nearby, and the subadult males disperse really long distances.
Yeah, like how far?
I mean, I don't know in the case of leopards if there's been a thing, but in all other cats, it has been up to 300, 400 kilometers away maximum as well. Like
Oh,
if you look at
wow.
the mountain lions or if you look at tigers, yeah.
And now with the increasing feral dog problem in India, like almost all protected areas, all rural landscapes have a large population of feral dogs. Do you think the leopards are expanding their range? Are they coming back into places where they had been locally
Well, it's
exterminated
not the
from?
dogs that will drive it because if you see, India has the highest density of livestock
Right.
compared to anywhere. So we have some 150 animals per square kilometer if you look at dogs and cows, goats and cows. This is a very old data set, so it must be more now. So I don't think they really need dogs as food. There's enough food
Hmm.
in the landscape. Can you imagine 100, even 100? So let's even take 100 as cattle and the other 50 is medium sized. 50 animals per square kilometer when a leopard's range minimum could be 8 square kilometers. So that's 8 fives are 400 animals per square in a leopard's range. And all it needs is one per week. So it
Right.
needs 50 animals. So it's a huge amount of food India has. Yeah, so
Right.
I don't think that's as important as I think for all these animals, what you really need, let it be tigers or leopards, is a safe space where they can raise their cubs.
Okay.
That
That's
is
the
the
limiting.
that is the limiting factor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what, really random question, but what do we gain from sharing space with a leopard? What, in your opinion, is the advantage of it?
Yeah, so I had read this really cool article by, I forget his name, he used to write for The Guardian, he still writes sometimes, about how the UK spaces are soulless because you don't even see an eagle or there's no chance of seeing a wolf. And I felt that when, like 10 years back, I'd gone to Scotland and I was walking in stunning landscape, walking on the hills, but all I was seeing was sheep dung. There was nothing else. Like they even kill their eagles over there. So I think, this awe plus fear, it strikes, I think, at some really core part of what is human. And to not have that and to live in an entirely sterile bubble. So I would compare it to that. Would you prefer living in one of these ads that you see for water or air conditioner on our TVs where everything's white? You're wearing white. And I don't want a life like that. I
Yeah,
want a
yeah.
life where I have other people who are different than me, When I go somewhere, I know that, oh my God, those trees are there. And oh my God, maybe I will see an eagle. Or that shepherd said that there's a wolf there. Even the shepherd just saying, oh, he saw a wolf, it does something to you, which otherwise you can just sit in a car and just in an AC travel everywhere. It's no fun. I don't know. I think it's something very core of humanity. If you look at all the old cave paintings, very old, it's only about animals and people. Because that was how we were for a long time, till a few hundred years back. And I think there are deeper connections. Like, why are we feeding crows in our house? Why is it we worship the trees, or we notice the termite hills? Or I think there's some deeper connection between other life forms and ours that we've forgotten, and we are in just because the way life is nowadays. And I think it's a shared history of humans with other life forms.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you think we're losing it with the passing years?
Of course, I think we're losing almost everything with social media and smartphones. The world's becoming a really different place. But I think this is something you'll never ever lose. Like, you might lose the species. I don't know what will happen. But this deep connection, like between the moon and humans, between the sun and humans, a butterfly, you observe it at the end of the day, and that will always come back. Wherever the world is taking us now, down the tunnel, I think that'll always be there. I don't know. That's what I feel.
But I feel like there's a shift in people's aesthetics, in what they find beautiful. There are people who would find a mall more beautiful than a park.
No, I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's because you don't have enough parks today, and the only place to socialize are malls. You don't
Right.
have a place to walk. My little cousin, he's dying to cycle on the roads, and he just can't, like, the parents can't take him cycling because it's not safe. So
Right.
I think it's because our governance is not towards enabling people's health as a primary driver. I think it's going to impact a lot of things apart from our own health. It's going to impact the feeling of breeze on one's face as one is cycling. It's such an
Right.
amazing experience.
And if one was to start introducing people to the natural world, if you wanted to introduce, say, like a bunch of IT guys, I'm sorry I'm using a cliche, but how would you start introducing them to the natural world?
I think that's a tough one because I would perhaps start, if I had all the luxury in the world, I would perhaps start with the kids. Because I think once you convert that age group, because I can see the older kids who haven't had that exposure are already on their devices, social media, like just not stepping out because there are no roads to step out in any case. It's a really vicious cycle, but I think, kids between 6 and 12, if you convert them, then you've just converted them for life.
Okay. Srinivas, who's joined, he's an artist and he's great at visual communication, but I think he's probably not able to join, but just listening in. Oh, hi, Srini. Hi,
Hi,
there you are.
Srinivas.
Hi,
Hi.
thank you for the fascinating conversation.
So
I don't
Srini
know.
has a question that he likes to ask at the end of the interview. Srini, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so I was just listening into some things. I just had a few questions also. So there is some videos like this, like little Instagram videos and reels floating around where these leopards are coming and snuggling up with a farmer. So they're not, obviously they're scared of humans, but do you think they see us as like this higher brother kind of thing, or like they come and snuggle up inside?
So I think those are AI generated.
Yeah, I
No,
don't think.
no. There's one real one where this farmer is sleeping in the woods, and these 3, 4 leopards are coming and snuggling up with him next to him. They just sleep like
Very
that.
unlikely. I
Really?
Yeah, unless these are reared ones. As kittens,
That's
let's
the
rear
reason.
them, because then the relationship between them and the human becomes one of mother cubs. Otherwise, no. Yeah.
But generally, compared to other cats, leopard attacks on humans are lesser than they
No,
will not.
actually, in India, they are probably more than any other. Oh, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But attacks on humans are usually an aberrant behavior because of, that's what I feel.
Territory.
No, it's not as simple. I think it's something that humans, it's in the mind of the animal. It's something that has happened to it. See, when a human attacks another human, have this whole like murder inquiry and this, and
Yeah.
then we know what happened. In
Yeah.
leopards, we have no clue what happened. We just see the attack and then we blame the animal, but we don't know what really happened. Was the person actually trying to kill the animal and the animal retaliated? Person's never going to say, "Oh, I was trying to shoot the animal and it attacked me," because it's illegal.
Correct.
So I don't think we can attribute reasons to why large cats attack people because we don't know their story.
Yeah. And the other question was this. So Vagoba is this thing for a lot of indigenous people, right?
That's in Maharashtra largely.
Maharashtra, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a mix of tiger, leopard, cheetah, and all these
Not
kind of
cheetah, largely tiger and leopard.
tiger and leopard.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, fascinating creatures.
They are indeed.
Yeah, really amazing. And like Sartaj was saying, I really like the comparison of how we are seeing a family structure, and we just have to normalize that sort of thing. And obviously, they also considering their families. I don't know what migration. So yeah, what Sartaj was referring to this question was that basically what we're trying to do is because information and knowledge is so spread out with different people studying, it's a little bit of a siloed because we don't see all this knowledge repository as one thing. And it's a huge amount of knowledge that people are taking with them. So we thought, why don't we create some sort of a little bit of an intergenerational archive, right? So we're trying to do it in multi-species living. Is that so? How we are trying to organize this knowledge is that we speak to people and try to figure out a recipe for multi-species living, right? Yes. So question goes to you is that so if we are to think of existence in this beautiful design, what could be a species like a recipe for multi-species living? Obviously, it's going to humans to adapt or live with nature in a way that, you know, maintains the balance. We are a little bit of a stewards in that way, unfortunately, but that's how it is. So, yeah.
100% depends entirely on the humans. And for me, it's fascinating because sometimes I think about it. See, these animals, and something you said earlier also, I think just as we look at them in awe, I sometimes wonder if they are also looking at us in awe, because at the end of it, we are their predators. We are a higher is one thing. Because many times I've heard the older people in Himachal and Uttarakhand saying that long back in the time of our elders, they used to follow us home in the evenings. And we used to reach our doorstep and we used to tell them, now you go catch my neighbor's goat and not mine. And then I've had another farmer in my study site telling me about an older man who was just sitting close to a leopard doing nothing. Nobody did. So all these, we don't have the time or bandwidth to. The times have changed now, right? And to me, I often wonder the leopards are totally, see, they need to adapt. They need larger areas to live like humans do.
Absolutely.
And if you ask me if the humans of Mumbai were okay with leopards, you would see leopards sitting on the seafront in
Correct.
Marine Drive.
Yeah.
But the people need to be of a different mindset where they're like, okay, they're not going to do anything to us. It's okay for them to hang out. But I don't think that'll ever come. Maybe some tribal societies have it today because they live with these animals. But that is one extreme where it can.
Yeah, in say like mixed with this urban and where humanity is growing. So what could be a recipe for multi-species living, right? Like according
It
to
has
you.
to be an acceptance. I don't even know if you want to go to species, if humans managed to live with one another first in the first place.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think.
It's acceptance. It is
Mhm.
respect and acceptance. And I think both
Mhm.
these words are vanishing today.
No, absolutely. We have no respect for like corridors or things. These were all like wild corridors connected. All India was connected. Now, every time I see the map, I see how it's been decimated, the corridors, right? From Western Ghats to the Pachmadi to MP, Chhattisgarh,
Right,
all the
right.
way. Everywhere they had corridors to walk around. Obviously, they're venturing out in cities and everything because where do they go? They don't have paths anymore.
Yeah, it's also another thing that now we have hyper vigilance. So we have more CCTVs. I'm sure they were walking around everywhere long back as well. It's just that we earlier in the 70s, lights would be out by about 7:38 in rural landscapes. That's no longer the case. You have vehicles going, you have roads expansion, you
Correct.
see them more. So even the seeing them more has increased as well. It's more complex, I think. Yeah.
And one more question I had about this. Sorry, I don't want to keep you waiting, but
Oh, but
yeah, no, so it's family structure. You said the boys leave the family, the girls stay with the mom. For how long does that happen?
no, so what I've read is that their societies are around females. So forever, the
Hmm.
moment a female has a home range, she needs that to have her babies. So it's
Okay,
like a
okay.
home. And like
Hmm.
I was telling Sardaj, that's the most crucial space. Like female leopard needs a space where she can raise. And you have to realize this is, again, I'm going to go back to humans. Humans at the time of like independence, where all the woman was doing was having babies.
Correct.
So if she had a young one, there would be another one on her hip, and then she would probably be
Yeah,
pregnant.
yeah.
You'll never find a female leopard in single, either with subadult cubs who are larger than her, and then with babies. And then after that, a certain time again, she is pregnant. So she's
Hmm.
always in that state of bearing children. Yeah.
Okay. So her main lookout is providing this territory space for
100%.
them to basically that's her,
100%.
yeah.
So she needs a safe space to bring
Hmm.
up, to care for herself and to bring up
Absolutely.
her kids, and that too in such a tricky human dominated
Yeah,
environment.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's not just one baby again. It's
Yeah,
yes, 3, 4, out of which
correct.
a few will die. And then it's tough. And then somebody comes and cuts that sugar cane in which you had put your little babies.
Super
And
tough. Yeah,
then, yeah, so it's a very complex landscape for,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so maybe recipe we could keep it as basically respect and acceptance for the others, basically, is what
Yeah.
we're
Yes.
going with. Okay,
Yes.
I think that's good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much, Vidya. Thank you so much for talking to us. It
Welcome.
was really nice talking to you.
Yeah.
Happy to hear. Bye, Sartaj.